Our stay is completed and it's time to head home. If you've joined us for the first two parts of this road trip, you heard me make mention of day 3 going to be 900 miles in one day, going from here just outside of Charlottesville, Virginia, to a hotel in North Little Rock. Well, things change. We have to be a little fluid in what we're going to do. On day 2, we were driving through the early rain bands of Hurricane Helene on the way here, and Hurricane Helene went right over our route as a post-tropical cyclone and created a massive disaster for western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee. Now, we're not going into North Carolina, but we are going through eastern Tennessee. We are going along the Blue Ridge Mountains and through the Tennessee Valley. That's our route, no matter which way that we would go. And then we'll divert just west, going through on Interstate 40 through Knoxville and Nashville and so on. That, coupled with the fact that while we enjoyed our stay here, we were sleeping in a bunkhouse, and it was very hard for me personally to sleep. The bunk wasn't very comfortable. It was noisy. There was a lot of light. So I haven't had a really good night's sleep. So bottom line, we're not going to leave at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning to get to our hotel at 1 a.m. the following morning to try to pull off 900 miles. What we're going to do instead is we're going to leave tonight, and we're going to try to knock off about 120 to 140 miles off of that total distance to Little Rock, and we're going to stay somewhere, thinking Radford, Virginia. We haven't booked the hotel. We're just going to see what we can do. I've checked on a power outages map that showed the amount of counties that are without power in Virginia and without power in Tennessee, which is something to take into consideration no matter what you're road tripping. It's not just for an electric car like our Model 3. Power outages affect gasoline pumps also. So we're checking to see where the power is on. And Radford in, I think it's Montgomery County, Virginia, is showing that it's 99% of the residents there have power. So I'm reasonably sure that if we get a hotel in Radford, Virginia, just outside of Christiansburg, that we'll be able to plug in and get a full charge up to 100%, get a decent night's sleep, and then go on what's going to be about a 740 to 750 mile day to get us to Little Rock. And it's important to get a full charge there in Radford, because between there and the supercharger outside of Sevierville at the Buc-ee's that we stopped at on day 2, that's 200-mile stretch of the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Tennessee Valley, and that's the closest we're going to come to the area that was really badly affected by Hurricane Helene. And we're not going to go south on Interstate 40. Some of those roads are washed out. We got no business going anywhere near there, so we're not going to. But we're going to be maybe about 70 to 90 miles north of or maybe not even that much, but maybe 50 to 60 miles north of some of the bad stuff. But what we might encounter are power outages that still might exist. And so we want to eliminate any need for us to have to stop and charge in that 200-mile section between Radford, Virginia and Sevierville, Tennessee. The counties in between there don't show, 1% without power or less. They show more like 60 to 70% without power. So the plan is to additionally knock a couple of hours off of our drive on our first long day back to allow us to get into Little Rock while it's still PM on Monday. So that's the plan. We're going to be leaving after dark, so I'm filming this before we go. But we will have to have a charge stop between now and then. Where we're at, there's nowhere to plug in. I did drive into Charlottesville our first day here, and I got the car up to about 70%, but I've had to run a few extra errands. Another little bit of interesting information: when you're driving a car that uses phone as a key and your phone stops working while you're on the trip, that can be a problem. My phone did that. Apparently, according to the customer service clerk in some forums, the new software update might have killed my phone, and I forgot my login for my Apple ID, and so I'm waiting for a reset to be able to do a backup. I did get a new phone in Charlottesville, so that's one of the errands I had to do while I was here. And luckily, Rachel's phone is paired to the car as a key, so we can still drive. But I have to, anytime I go to the car, it's like I need your phone, because we left the key card at home. So always bring the key card with you on trips. We learned this from this one. Learn from our mistake. Laugh at our errors. Just don't be mean. But yeah, my phone totally crapped out. So part of the adventure is going to be if I can get into my Apple account and if I can get an iCloud backup, maybe at the hotel we've got Wi-Fi. But we do have to have a charge stop in between here and where we're staying for the night. Probably need to stop and charge in Raphine, Virginia. But that's not far enough along the road for that to make enough of a difference. So we're going to keep going. All right, so we're heading out. It's a little dusky. We're going to head down these very, very tight country roads getting out of here. After all of the miles that we drove on the trip, which was 45 miles since I charged the car, we're standing at 1,401 miles so far on this trip. Get that in there so you can see our efficiency and our power usage. I'm going to navigate us to a hotel that I found on PlugShare that I know has a charger in Radford, and that's kind of the goal for the night, which means we're going to need one charging stop in Raphine, Virginia. Get that back so we can see where we're at. So one charging stop for 15 minutes in Raphine, and that is 50 miles away because we are leaving at 46% state of charge right now, and we've got to get out of these windy roads. So we've pulled into a supercharger at a Comfort Inn and Suites in Raphine, Virginia. 19% state of charge is where we're at. We're up to a total on the trip of 1,453 miles, and I'll do the math and put that up in a graphic. We need to get some power. The hotel that I've marked, we can't make. So we're going to charge here. Let's go get plugged in. Okay, we are plugged in. This is a version 3 supercharger, so it should activate pretty quick. There we go. Okay, so we're on the road. We're dealing with some rain. We're sharing the supercharger. We got a Rivian R1T over here with a nice green light going across the back while it's charging. That's pretty cool. Let's go in the car because it's raining a little too much for you. Right now it says that we need 7 minutes to return the trip, so we have an ETA on the car of 9:35 of getting to this hotel. But we usually book our hotels on Expedia, and we do not have this hotel booked. So we're going to be pulling up and saying, hey, you got a room, and they may say, hey, no we don't, and then we'll have to punt. So since we're not 100% sure that we're going to be able to get a room at this hotel to charge for the night, I am wanting to get enough energy in the car to get to the next supercharger down the road, which is in Wytheville, Virginia, where that one shopping mall we stopped at. So I have the car right now navigating to the supercharger in Wytheville, and as soon as it says we have enough energy, which it just did, we're going to unplug. I'm going to end the trip, going to re-navigate to the hotel in Radford, and now we should get there with 32% on arrival, which is more than we really need, but I wanted to be sure we had enough to get to that supercharger in Wytheville. So I'm gonna get out and unplug, and we'll be back on the road momentarily. Hang on. I guess it has to be raining when you road trip in Virginia. I just think that's the rule. Well, good news, this True by Hilton has plenty of rooms. They have power. We're gonna stop here for the night just because, well, it's 10 o'clock at night. We're gonna try to get a decent night's sleep because we got a lot of driving to do tomorrow. And their chargers work. Bad news is these are not free chargers. These are ChargePoint level 2 chargers. Here's why this is a problem for me. A couple of days ago, while we were on this trip, my phone, I mentioned this in the beginning, no longer wanted to connect with its SIM card. The customer service reps at my cell carrier said that it was probably because of an iOS update, and it basically made my phone a little inoperative. I tried to do a reset and ended up bricking my phone entirely, and I forgot my password to get logged in. Upgraded to this phone, got that, but without my password, which I won't be able to reset for a week. Gotta love Apple. We have to access Rachel's phone to access the car. Well, here's the thing. Rachel doesn't have any of these charging apps in her phone. She doesn't have an account in her phone. So Rachel is going to have to download the ChargePoint app in her phone, put in my card for a method of payment, and then we can start our charge.
Correction. Correction. I'm gonna hand my phone to Luke and he's gonna do those things on my phone, because that's how we roll around here.
So we've got Rachel's account set up on her phone. We're at station 1, station 2 is right there. Going to hit this one here to start charge. Am I at True Radford station 1? Yes. Authorizing, because right now it's locked and won't come out. And there's a sign, it is now unlocked. We've got the plug, got my adapter, and car's locked. We're plugged in. And just heard a click there. I've got a flashing green light here. This is going to cost us $2 an hour. So we definitely don't want to stay here after we're full. And we are charging. Okay. We're getting hardly any kilowatt hours on this thing right now. Current session not charging according to the app. But according to the station, now we're getting 5 kilowatts.
You want to check inside the car?
So hit details. There we are. So we're getting 6.4 kilowatts according to the station. Let me check the inside of the car. The car says it's getting 6 kilowatt hours, and we'll be done in 8 hours and 10 minutes.
Okay.
8 hours from now would be 6:40.
Okay.
So it's probably when we're going to get up anyway. Set my alarm for the time I'd get up, throw on clothes, come down here, unplug, and move the car away from the charger, and we'll be at 100%, and then we'll shower, have breakfast, and get back on the road.
Okay.
So we are going to get our stuff out of the car. We're going to go in and get some sleep while the car gets some juice. Yep. And we'll be on the road in the daylight. Got some race cars over here that are just letting us know we're in Virginia. Yeah. So there you have it. This is what was supposed to be day 3 of our trip, but really in reality is now day 4. We cut that 900 mile day down by about 150 miles. We've got approximately 751 miles to go today to get to our hotel in Little Rock. I think that's going to be more manageable. We're at this True by Hilton in Radford, Tennessee. We stopped here to get a little further down the road, get an early start. So we get to see this part of Virginia in daylight. Now the section that we're about to go through is the part of Virginia and Tennessee. We're going to be getting near where flood damage was from Hurricane Helene, and the big concern is power. We have 100% in the battery. We charged overnight on the charge point here at this hotel. We've got 200 miles to get to the Buc-ee's in Sevierville, which is beyond the area where they're still showing some power outages. Now, we're going to be dozens of miles, if not 100 miles north of the main damage. So that's not good. Our roads aren't going to be affected, but there might be power hiccups. So the hope is to get beyond them. Real quick, going to plug in the route plan. We're going to a hotel in North Little Rock. So there's our route. It wants us to charge in Bristol and then skip Sevierville, go to Crossville. We'll see how that works. But on the road we go. We're starting the day at 1,551 miles total on our trip so far. We've been on the road for about 2 hours so far this morning, and here we are in Bristol, Virginia, coming up on the Tennessee state line.
Here it is.
There's the sign.
Welcome to Tennessee. Oh, Tennessee, the volunteer state welcomes you, it said.
And now we've gone from Bristol, Virginia into Bristol, Tennessee. We've got 90 miles to go until we're at the Buc-ee's at the Sevierville Supercharger. That's not in Sevierville, it's in Kodak.
Would you have to say every time?
I have to say every time because they named it wrong.
They named it wrong.
I guess if they called it the Kodak Supercharger, people would expect to see old film cameras.
Or bears.
Or bears. No, that would be Kodiak.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, you know, bald detectives. No, wait, that'd be Kojak.
Kojak, yeah.
Yeah, anyhow. Back at this Buc-ee's where we charged at before, just outside of Sevierville, Tennessee. And there's our green light. We were charging. Can you get the Buc-ee sign? I don't know how well you guys can see that on camera or not, but it says Sevierville underneath it, not Beaverville. 11 minutes to continue the trip, so we're not going to be here long. I will do some stuff with the navigation when we get back. We're going to go in. We were at 170 kilowatts there. Looks like Supercharger Crossville. Let me go back. I'm going to look at these chargers and see which one we're going to hit. I'm going to move one of them. But we are 18% on arrival to our next charge stop. Well, we charged up to 61% at that Buc-ee's, and we're back on the road between Sevierville and Crossville. A lot of cities and towns in the state of Tennessee end with "ville." Have you noticed that?
A lot of cities and towns in the world end with "ville."
But I mean, most of the towns that we're stopping in are in Tennessee or ending in "ville" until we get to Jackson and Memphis. But we've got Crossville and then Nashville. We're going through Knoxville. We just charged in Sevierville. Everything's a "ville." But we did that long stretch where we did over 200 miles with over 40 left. And I think that means that reasonably, without having the stops and starts and parasitic drain of driving around in town like I did on my range test, that we might have pushed another 13 miles and gotten this thing to 240. A good amount of that was 75 miles an hour, and 240 miles of range wouldn't have been out of our realm of possibility on that last run. Now, a lot of that had to do with our efficiency being as low as it was, 222 watt hours per mile, and I didn't calculate it live, so I'll just have to put the graphic up here. But really good efficiency, because we had some downhill, and it is only 72 degrees, even though it's raining now. One of the things that I wanted to point out, I'm really impressed with just the way that just the spirit of helping out others. There's a major disaster in western North Carolina on this trip that it happened while we were well out of it, but it did affect some people we know. And the city of Asheville is without power. A lot of western North Carolina is without power. And we saw multiple convoys of electrical crews with bucket trucks. The first one that we saw was from Con Ed in New York, on its way down there to help. And just these convoys of trucks trying to get electricity restored. We saw those with our own eyes while we were out on the trip. So that was that. But aside from our route, we're north of the worst of it. We saw a few downed tree limbs, right?
Yeah.
And those were like well off to the side of the road, some of the trees that, line the highway. But we're back in rain. This has been a busy, wet drive when we've been in this part of the country. I don't know when we're going to be able to get out of it. I have a little bit of an update on my phone situation. While we were at the hotel, I was able to start restoring the phone from backup. It didn't finish before we had to leave, and so we had to keep my laptop open with the phone connected to it for about another 35 minutes of the drive. So Rachel was good enough to have that on her lap while that backup was doing. And the good news is that the backup finished, and I have placeholders for all of my apps and stuff on my phone, but since I still can't log into my Apple ID, they won't download. So I still am without my apps or anything like that, and forced to have Rachel's phone be the one that can unlock and drive the car. So womp womp. Let this be a lesson to you. Like I said last night, if you're going to road trip a Tesla, bring the key card with you.
Or just bring a spouse whose phone also is keyed to your car.
Right, but it's annoying for me to just say, "Hey, I need your phone."
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it hasn't stranded us or anything. But we are back on the road. Do you have anything to add for the trip?
Only that we've been on the road for, we were on the road for part of the evening last night, and then we got up this morning and we're driving for a while, and we just left Sevierville, and last year that was the beginning of our trip. Right. That was when the trip started. So
and right now it's noon. By the time we get to Knoxville, we're probably going to be about 2 hours behind when we would have left last year.
Yeah.
But we're not going as far. We're not going all the way to Hope, Arkansas. We're going to Little Rock. So it's going to be more driving for us today. But if we had started from here, we're not going as far as we would have last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bigger trip, and it's a good thing that we had this car.
Yeah. We literally couldn't have done it if we had been driving the Bolt.
If we had better sleeping arrangements where we were staying, and if it wasn't for Hurricane Helene putting question marks on power grids in the area, and we haven't run into any issues, and we're past the area that was affected, so we shouldn't have any issues remaining, and we can put that part of the trip behind us. But 900 miles for one day was too ambitious, I think, and I think the system that we came up with on the fly is going to work out better. We were able to knock out 150 miles last night, and didn't really have it feel like it impacted our stay too much. It just, cost us an extra night of hotel, and the charge wasn't free. That sucks. But it wouldn't. I think it's going to work out to be about as much as we would have paid at a supercharger anyway, except we got to 100%. So that's not going to be that big of a deal. But our next stop is Crossville, Tennessee, in 78 miles, and then we're going to revisit one of our old stomping ground charging stations from past year's road trips after that. Or by revisit, I'm going to say that we're going to drive by it while we're on the way to the Tesla supercharger on the other side of the same parking lot.
No one knows what you're talking about.
They will when we get there.
Okay.
With 17% state of charge, 90 miles on that leg. Efficiency is 256 watt hours per mile. We're up to 1,844 miles for the total trip. Let's get plugged in. And we're plugged in. It's another version 3 charger. Blue, 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 and come on, green. And it's green. And of course, we've had sun going outside of Knoxville and all of that, but it's time to charge, so it's raining again. We're at Stonehouse Winery, across from a Wendy's and a Pilot and all of that stuff that's way over there. We might go do some exploring here depending on how much time we've got. Car says 13 minutes to continue the trip. We're going to explore for about 10 minutes, kind of look around, see what's going on, and get back here to unplug. We're charged to 65%. We've got enough to get to our next charger, so I'm going to unplug. We're going to get back on the road. We're going to drive a couple of miles into town to get some lunch and at a drive-through, because the food they had here smelled really good, but we couldn't really eat it while we're driving, or I couldn't eat it while I'm driving. So we're going to go get eat with hands kind of food. On the road to Nashville we go. We have been to this charging station on the last 2 years, and it is an Electrify America, and they've got new machines. So yay. But
we're not going to
let's
charge
see,
here.
a Kia Niro, an EV6, an open charger, a Lightning, a Bolt, an Ioniq 5, a Mercedes, and a Kia EV6. So 7 out of 8 stalls currently in use. This one is just plain crowded, but there's a lot of variety of EVs. But there's 3 Kias. But check this out. We are going to go to the other side of the shopping center. And lo and behold, there are way more superchargers here than it looks like. There's 24 units, 6 in use. There's another one plugging in down there. Let's see where we are. 112 miles on that leg, 230 watt hours per mile. We're down to 248 watt hours per mile for the whole trip. 1,956 miles so far. We arrived at 18%, time to plug in. Version 3 supercharger, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and the rest are over there. So, oh, and we're charging now. Very same shopping center. This is the Kroger where Rachel got her Sprouts 2 years ago. And clear down in there at the other end of the building is the Electrify America that has 7 of its 8 stalls working. I am so glad that they got new charging units since last year, but it's still full. They needed more. So take a look at where we're at. Up to 19%, we're getting 170 kilowatts. And I'm gonna go to the route because I intentionally wanted to go to this one and I don't want to go to either one of these. There's reasons. So I'm gonna end the trip and then I'm gonna restart it. There we go. Now it got rid of the Memphis one and it's got the superchargers that I want to be at. So now we are going to be here for 12 minutes. And what did that do to our arrival? It actually, that actually sped up our arrival time. It was about 9:20 before I did that, and now it says 8:59. So if you want to go in and look for Sprouts, we got 12 minutes. We are 17% on arrival at the Jackson Supercharger, so whoops. We are unplugged. And we're done. Now let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 other Model 3s. This is the most crowded supercharger we've been at on this entire trip. But yeah, there's so much empty space, I feel bad for the almost completely full Electrify America on the other side of the parking lot.
It's such a different experience road tripping and charging a Tesla versus charging a car that needs an EA.
NEA or anything like that, because there's enough chargers at the stalls is one of the big things, and the plug-in charge is really great.
I don't think we've ever been to a Tesla supercharger facility that was more than half full, and usually it's much less than that.
Yeah, and we have 2 more charges left. We're going to charge in Jackson, and we're going to Jackson, Tennessee, and then Brinkley, Arkansas, and then we're at our hotel for the night. So 2 more charges till sleep, and Rachel's been kind of sleepy.
I've been sleeping. Poor Luke has been driving by himself, just listening to our book, and I've been dozing. And
but you said something that when you're tired.
What about when I'm tired? Well, brain no worky.
So
he said, don't you have anything to say? And I was just like, because I said I know that the content is more interesting when I contribute, but when I'm sleepy, brain no worky. Sorry, y'all.
All right, you ready to get on the road?
Let's do it.
We're 15 miles away from our charging stop in Jackson, Tennessee, and a weird thing just happened. Rachel and I were talking and just watching the road, and the car yelled at me and said that Autosteer was currently unavailable due to a system error. And I thought, well, maybe I had just not put pressure on it and they put me in autopilot jail. I've been in autopilot jail, just not on this trip. And that was not it. It would not reactivate, which autopilot jail will be like that. But after we had driven for about 2 miles and Rachel read through some of the troubleshooting alerts, I hit it and it resumed and we're on FSD again. When the one time that I got put in autopilot jail, I had to park the car, get out of the car, walk around for a couple of minutes, and then start a new drive, and then it was fine again. So it wasn't autopilot jail this time. It was some kind of glitch. Because after 2 miles, it's working again, and we haven't stopped to put the car in park or anything like that. What did the troubleshooting alert say when you read it?
It just said that due to a system error, the self-drive function was unavailable. It threw up a red alert, and it said, please take over driving immediately.
And so I did, and it's working again. So hopefully that was just an isolated incident. But we'll be at the charger here in a couple of minutes and get you up to date on how that works. It's still daytime, so yay. Slow car merging in front of me. With last year we rolled into Jackson, we had dinner, but it was an early dinner / late lunch. So even though it's kind of time to have a slightly early dinner, I think we're behind the time that we were at last year. But last year we started in Sevierville.
Yeah.
And that's roughly where we had our first charge stop after having driven 200 miles already.
Yeah.
We have almost caught up to our time with the Bolt, and we started 200 miles further back.
Right. So last year when we took this trip with the Bolt, our destination was in Sevierville, so our return trip started there, and here this time we started 500 miles further the other direction, and now we're almost caught up to it, of course, after having started a day early.
But it would have been a long day, and there's no way I could have done it. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Sorry for you guys who wanted to see me try to pull off a 900-mile day. There's just no way to do it. One thing that I will say about road tripping this car compared to the Bolt, and I'll go into more detail about that in the epilogue video to this road trip that I'll have out in a couple of weeks, we are more permissive with the extra stops, the stops that aren't at charging stations. When we were road tripping the Bolt would be at those charging stops for so long, and we didn't mind it really. There were only a couple of times that felt like we were waiting for the car, and we'd have nice sit-down, relaxing meals and stuff like that, but we'd be at the charging stops for so long, we were really loath to make any extra stops anywhere. And so it's just like, we're only going to stop at the charging stops, and we maybe had like 1 or 2 unscheduled stops each direction, and only did those if we really needed to.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this. So what we discovered on the last trip that we did is that the car charges so fast that we feel rushed.
Yeah.
Sometimes. We don't really have time, especially if the charging station is far away from the facilities. We often really don't feel like we have time to use the restroom, get something to eat. If we do all that, we've overstayed what the car needs. So what we've discovered this trip
is if we can find a rest area nearby our charging where our charging stop is going to be, or halfway in between the chargers, we've pulled off at the rest area to take care of business there. And then when we go to the charger, we just plug in. And we wait our 10-15 minutes or so, and we go.
Right. So instead of combining our bio brakes with our car needs, we're now just taking separate stops for those things. And it's working out better for us that way.
And we're still going so much faster than we did with the Bolt. Like I said, we're going to have done, just like we did on the first day, 200 miles more driving in roughly the same amount of time that we had with the Bolt last year. That's what it feels like right now. And again, I'll wrap all that up in a couple of weeks on the epilogue video to this with some detailed stats, as detailed as I can get. I apologize for the lack of thorough statistics on this leg because of my technical glitches with my phone. Yeah, we've been much more permissive with the extra stops. It's like, it's not a big deal. The trip out to Virginia, we weren't in that mindset. It took us until Mississippi before we decided to, or Mississippi I think it was.
I don't know, but at somewhere we figured out that we needed to
late in the first day.
Yeah.
Late in the first day, it's like, you know what? It was after Mississippi, because we walked into that mall in Meridian.
Right.
And by the time we got to the restroom, and still would have to walk back out of the mall and then clear across the parking lot to the chargers. As we got out of the restroom, I got the notification that the car was done and ready to go. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we still got an 8-minute walk.
Yeah.
So why do that and feel rushed about it the whole time? So that way we take our breaks when we need them, and we feel like we get a forced break when the car charges, and we're still going much faster than we did with the Bolt. We're just not the kind of people that try to go hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles in record time. That's not us, and I don't see any EV cannonballs in my future. There's no way I can keep up. So, but on to our charging stop, and we'll update you with that when we get there. We have arrived in Jackson, Tennessee, 137 miles on that leg, 225 watt hours per mile efficiency. Our total efficiency is down to 247 watt hours per mile, or over 4 miles per kilowatt hour.
Nice.
2,093 miles on the trip so far. Time to get plugged in. We are at Casey Jones Village, the Casey Jones Home, Railroad Museum, and Train Store is right there. We've got this old country store right here. We've got a green light, we're charging. So let me just call out some stats to you. Charging's ramping up. We got in at 11%, already up to 12, and we're at 171 kilowatts maximum charge speed. 20 minutes to continue the trip is what the car says, with our next stop in Brinkley, Arkansas, which is 153 miles away. That's why this is a long charge. So let's head over here to this sign, and do you have your phone with you?
Yes.
I'm gonna close the car then. So Rachel, when we took this trip 2 years ago, we were originally thinking when we planned it that we'd be borrowing a Tesla Model 3 to do the trip, then we got the Bolt.
Right.
But we booked our hotel because of where this charger was, because we thought we were taking the Tesla, and we kept that hotel booking because the hotel was very inexpensive.
Yeah.
And we understood why when we got there, right?
Yes.
And
yes, the hotel was it was a historic hotel, and it was very old and not particularly well maintained.
I think janky.
Janky was the word.
Is a good word to do it.
Yeah.
But when we left there, we came over here on that video to film this area, and when we did, these were the only Tesla superchargers here. Was this row, and so in the last 2 years, all of these are new, including that big old row over there.
But look at.
And check this out. I wanted to get this sign on. Charge your car outside, recharge your soul inside. So I don't know, Southern Soul Buffets, Dixie Cafe to go and drive through, farm at Casey Jones Village. So we could check out some of these shops while we're here. We're charging for a long leg, 150 miles. We don't have to do that full charge. We could do a short leg and charge in Memphis.
Yeah.
And not be here long, or we could just have this be a longer one. What do you want to do?
I kind of want to walk around a little bit.
Okay, so we're going to walk around a little bit.
Why are we going that way?
I got to put the camera back in the car.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we walked around. What did we see?
We saw a really cute little village that is
right over there on the other side of the train.
Yeah, it's obviously a tourist attraction, but it's a restored village, and it's cute. There's a big gift shop, and then there's a little, like, what they call a farm, which has like some garden beds in it, and you know, they made an effort to make it look really quaint and cute. And so we walked around there, and there's like that old town facade on the other side, and
which is again on the other side of the train.
On the other side of the train.
We'll try to get it on camera on our way out.
Yeah.
But the car is almost done. And yeah, we've got the museum over here, and a couple of the buildings are set up as Airbnbs, and it says we have enough. 17% on arrival in Brinkley, Arkansas. And we are now unplugged and ready to go. We got in at 11%, and now we are at 73%. And we'll take a picture of the screen before we go and put up our stats. We have 153 miles to go to Brinkley, Arkansas, and then I think another 70 or 80 after that before we get to our hotel in Little Rock. So this is a long leg, and we might break it up with one of those unscheduled stops that we just talked about. But we'll be going over the border in about 80 miles, going across the Mississippi River again, just outside of Memphis. And hopefully we still have daylight when we do that. So let's get on the road. There is the Bass Pro Shops Pyramid. I think it's a Bass Pro Shop. In Memphis, Tennessee, with the bridge that's kind of lit up going over the Mississippi River right in front of us.
And this, of course, is the boundary between Tennessee and Arkansas.
Right, so we're gonna kind of stay with us here. It's almost dark, so we're not gonna be able to see the river, but the lights on the bridge are on. Sign for Mississippi River. And a great big sign in the middle of the bridge. Welcome to Arkansas, the natural state. Buckle up for safety. Yay, we're in Arkansas. There's the Mississippi River again. 69 miles to go to our next charge. It is 8:24 p.m. We have arrived in Brinkley, Arkansas at an 8% state of charge with 20 miles of range indicated. Total for that leg was 156 miles, 226 watt hours per mile. The total trip is at 2,249 miles so far at an average efficiency of 245 watt hours per mile. We need to get another 63 miles down the road to our hotel, so we're gonna get some juice and get out there. Let's get plugged in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just normal 8-stall supercharger, version 3. Wakey, wakey, come on. You can do it. There we go. Had to hit it this time. We are plugged in, rapid flashing blue light, and green. And I heard the contactors click into place. See how long the car believes we will be here. Straight up to 171 kilowatts already. 7 minutes, and so 6 minutes remaining to continue the trip. We need to, 63 miles to go. It's probably going to want us to pick up about 30% of the battery. But since we're so low in the pack, we're right in the sweet spot of how fast this is going to charge. So 6 minutes it says, and we'll be done. So what is happening at this supercharger?
Nothing. We're charging the car. That's
yeah, but I mean, it is not even 9 o'clock at night. It's 8:30 p.m. There's a grocery store that looks like it's just the people that work here. All the shops are closed. Got a Sonic over there. I wonder if that's a Brinkley police car that looks to be like an early 2000s Chevy Impala. A large number of their police cars got wrecked on live television last week. So
I'm sure you're going to tell the story. Do you
no,
want to
I don't.
tell the story?
I don't need to tell the story.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell the story. So by the time this video goes up, it'll be like a month ago. But last weekend on the TV show On Patrol Live, there was a pursuit that started in Hazen, Arkansas, which is about 20 miles up the road, the direction that we're going, that ended at the bridge that we just came over with a crash that involved multiple police cars that were damaged as well. And some of the cars were from the Hazen police and some of the cars were from the Brinkley police. And that's why I'm looking at, right over there, a Brinkley police department car that looks to be an early 2000s or late 1990s Chevy Impala. So we changed our plan to leave Charlottesville last night and get 150 miles down the road, and that worked out really well. It is only 8:30 p.m. right now, probably closer to, yeah, 8:32. The car's almost done. We have 63 miles to go, so right around 9:30 is when we'll get to our hotel. If we hadn't left last night, it'd be more like 12:45 in the morning, maybe later, with our unscheduled stops that we've added on. So this has worked out well. We're going to be able to get in at a decent hour. I just got the message. We may want to stay a little bit longer. It has us getting there at 5% on arrival. One of the things that I need to check is plug share. So I'm going to check plug share and let the car just get a little bit more power while I'm doing it. Yes, I don't have access to apps on my phone, but I have access to Safari, and I can search online. So where we're going is a Best Western Plus in North Little Rock. When I put the address in, it showed it as a supercharger on my phone, but this is showing it as a level 2 charger. That is not free. Kind of like last night. It's going to charge per kilowatt hour 45 cents. Lodging, EV parking, and dining. So I'm going to have to set my alarm again to unplug the car so we're not left. Oh, opened for guests only for up to 4 hours while actively charging. 2 chargers at the Best Western Stay in Charge, app required to pay. So we're going to have to download an app on your phone to do that again. All I did was filter Expedia for hotel and found it and said, hey, that'll work, because I was looking at the cost of the hotel room. Probably could have spent $15 more on a room and not have to spend on the charge. All right, we're at 13% on arrival right now. I want to get it to 15 and then I'll unplug. And so now it's 8:36 p.m. We're at 15% on arrival. We're gonna unplug, and it stayed plugged in. There we go. All right, 63 miles to go. We're sitting at 47% state of charge. Should be more than enough to get us there. So change of plans. We're still here in Brinkley. And the reason that we're still here in Brinkley, and you saw me just plug in, is that we decided we were hungry. We just stopped at the Sonic on our way out and get something to eat, and got a couple of quick breakfast burritos. And then I realized in my rush, I messed up. You can comment that. I know I messed up, and I know it right now. When I was searching for the hotel that we'd stay at tonight, I just found one that had EV charging and a good room rate, and I didn't go on PlugShare and check the charger. And the reason for that is not all of those hotel chargers show up on PlugShare. The one that we used in Meridian, Mississippi didn't. I had to go to the hotel and look through the pictures of the hotel to see if it was there. And this particular one is a pay-to-play charger in North Little Rock that's a few miles away from the charger in Little Rock, several on the other side of town, really, and Little Rock's not that little. And it charges 45 cents a kilowatt hour. And while I'm sitting waiting for our food at the Sonic, I'm thinking that's almost as much as a supercharger anyway. So we got our food, we drove over here, and we're gonna eat our food while we're plugged in and see if we actually onboard enough power to maybe get to Hope, Arkansas in the morning without plugging in tonight. I hate it that we're not getting the overnight charge, but I'd be paying the same or more money because it'd be going all the way up to 100% at 45 cents a kilowatt hour. So I wouldn't be saving any money, really. And it's also limited for 4 hours. So I'd have to set my alarm to wake myself up at 1 in the morning to move the car so I didn't get charged extra. And that was a mistake. So make sure you double check PlugShare, and you, again, don't make the mistake that I just made and book hotel with a pay-to-play charger out in front that you're going to have to move your car in the middle of the night for. So what we're doing right now is not ideal for EV road tripping. We're just going to try to onboard some more power here at this Tesla supercharger while we eat. And while I'm eating and chewing, I'll look around and see how much we actually need to get to the supercharger in Hope. And I'll update you here in a minute. I'm watching the charge stats on the screen while we're going. in real time, and this is 35 cents a kilowatt hour. So it is 10 cents less per kilowatt hour to charge here than it would be at our hotel. So we're just going to eat and charge, and when we go to the hotel, we'll just park and go in. To get to Hope, we need to onboard a good amount. Right now, we're 21% shy of being able to get there. I don't know if you could see that, but yeah, right there, we're 21% shy. To get that 21 plus a 15% buffer, now it's 20%, so 35% on top of where we're at, and right now we're at 60, so we're almost going to have to go to 95, and I hate to do that at a supercharger, but there is literally nobody here at all, so we're not holding anybody up, and we're eating, so we'll go that way. The car will take care of itself. It's already slowing down to 87 kilowatts, so it's not going to overheat itself. Okay, we're done eating, but the car says 20 minutes to continue the trip. I plugged in the supercharger in Hope to see if we could just make it straight there, and we can't quite. We're at minus 1%, so not quite enough to get there, plus no buffer. So we'll probably do a splash and dash at the supercharger on the other side of Little Rock in the morning when we leave, but now we'll get to the hotel with 48% left in the battery, so that gives me plenty of confidence for overnight. I've got everything turned off. When we were at our stay, I turned off Sentry mode, I turned off cabin overheat, and don't have very much phantom drain or parasitic drain at all, and while we're sleeping I won't be waking the car up accidentally, so we'll be fine, and we'll just get a splash and go in the morning, and let's get unplugged. So now we'll just check in with you when we get to the hotel. And we have arrived at our hotel in Little Rock. We pulled into the parking lot at 10:05 p.m. and the original trip plan had us getting here at 12:45 in the morning. So we're here 2 hours and 40 minutes early. That's the advantage of us getting 150 miles under our belt last night. And we pretty much stayed on target. We gave up a little bit of time in Brinkley because we're not going to plug in here over the night. So let's see where we're at the end of the trip. Our last leg was 65 miles. Our efficiency, 241 watt hours per mile. Total for the trip so far is 2,314 miles with an average efficiency of 245 watt hours per mile. We're currently sitting at a 52% state of charge. See how much of that is left in the morning, if I can get it in focus. So 52%, we'll see how much is left in the morning. We have 377 more miles to go until we are home, and we're gonna get that knocked out tomorrow. It looks like, according to the Tesla's route plan, it'll take us about 7.5 hours. So we've been having 8 a.m. local time as our target time to leave. Tomorrow we're gonna sleep an extra hour and have it be 9 a.m. Today was 15 hours on the road because we left our hotel in Radford, Virginia this morning at 8:05 a.m. and it's 10:05 p.m. So that's 14 hours on the clock plus an hour because of going from the Eastern time zone to the Central time zone. So 15 total hours of driving. I'm tired. We're gonna get unpacked. We're gonna get checked in. Thanks for watching. This video will conclude in the next part next week. See you then.